et al. Reading gives us a comprehensive look at an overview of corporate culture. It talks about their particular approach to measuring corporate culture. They have a way of an assessment instrument that you can apply to your own experiences. They have a classification for corporate culture. I feel like one of the weaknesses of the article is they treat culture as very monolithic, and that we know in very large organizations in particular, different divisions, different subunits can have quite different cultures. So an R&D unit is going to have a very different culture from a production facility. Um, a a sales group in United States is going to be very different from a supplier organization in Vietnam, and so and these things can all be embedded in a single corporation. So one of the things that just think about is it's a little too monolithic. It's a little too, I think I would say, a little too cut and dried for what I think is actually the case. But nevertheless, it gives us, I think, a good overview of culture. It talks about the importance of culture in corporations. And then it also, I think, it does a good job of discussing the role of leadership in establishing and facilitating corporate culture and talking about the problems associated, challenges associated with changing corporate culture, which is a non-trivial challenge. They have some pretty good examples of that. The only thing I kind of quibble with is that I think that cultures are characterizing are they're just not as monolithic as they talk about. But what they're talking about on the process side is, I think, quite useful. I'd like you to look for how they define culture. It is very much like we're going to be talking about from the SIP model. Um, but how do they do that? How do they assess it? And then what are the kind of factors that they think that influence culture? But it's what they're talking about. This article is very consistent with our discussion, using the social information processing model of individuals, talking about shared belief structures, and very consistent with what we've seen in the other readings as well. I think they have some pretty interesting things about how cultures are created, the role of leaders, and then certainly they have examples of how cultural change occurs and the efforts associated with that. It's non-trivial, and having been involved with a few consulting projects in which there were one of the elements of it was big cultural changes. It's big bucks and lots of time to do it. Your capacity as a leader to do it on a smaller scale is, certainly valuable to you. It's valuable in creating performance, and your capacity to lead it at a very large level is, um, you know, is ultimately kind of what Cotter's talking about in the very intro articles to the course. It's really what distinguishes exceptional leaders, especially exceptional executive leadership.